NBA free agency, Thunder, Patrick Patterson reached 3-year $16.4 million agreement. It's been 1 year since the Thunder lost Kevin Durant and they have done an incredible job retooling the roster and re-emerging as fringe contenders in the Western Conference. Oklahoma City shocked everybody when it pulled off a trade for Paul George mere hours before free agency kicked off, and now it's building a roster around him and Russell Westbrook to make a run. OKC agreed to a 3-year, $16.4 million contract with Patrick Patterson on Tuesday. The final year of the deal reportedly includes a player option, giving Patterson an out if the two stars bolt following next season. He's currently expected to be a starter and will shore up what was arguably the Thunder's weakest position last season. Patterson is defensive-minded stretch four that doesn't need the ball in his hands. This is perfect next to two ball-dominant players like George and Westbrook, and he's not too bad at setting screens either. The real win here, however, is on defense. Oklahoma City has long athletic defenders that can do a lot of switching, which will make it tough for opponents get baskets. Patterson is a great fit in Oklahoma City thanks to what he can do on the defensive side of the ball, and his ability to stretch out the floor will work well on a Thunder team that couldn't do much shooting last season.
Agreed to terms with free agent Gordon Hayward on Tuesday, making him the biggest free agent signing of the summer with a different team. Hayward had met with the Miami Heat and the Utah Jazz, his former team, before deciding on Boston, who are coached by his former college coach, Brad Stevens. Adding Hayward gives the Celtics another serious weapon on the wing, a great perimeter defender with size to cover up for their small backcourt, another playmaker who can add to their already potent offense. He, simply put, makes them a significantly better team. They may not be better than the Cavaliers, as shown by how wide the difference was in last year's Eastern Conference Finals, but they are undeniably closer, still with draft picks and assets to make another move as Danny Ainge continues on his path towards a championship roster.
NBA free agency, winners and losers from Gordon Hayward's move to the Celtics. Another 4th of July, another major free agency decision that helps a contender and sucker punches the team that drafted the star. Gordon Hayward is headed to Boston after eventually announcing his decision Tuesday night. Here's a look at the winners and losers from Hayward's big move. Winners, Boston Celtics. They had to get Hayward, especially after trading the number 1 overall draft pick when that player, Markelle Fultz, was the consensus top selection. They whiffed on trading for Paul George and Jimmy Butler. Had they missed on Hayward, their target for months, it wouldn't have been a disaster. Even last season's finished best record in the East and all their assets, several future lottery picks, would do little to lessen the sting had Hayward gone to Miami or stayed with the Jazz. More than avoiding a loss, it's a huge win. Hayward is a top-flight defender who can create in the pick and roll and spot up from the outside. He was 87th percentile via Synergy Sports as a pick-and-roll scorer and 71st in spot-up catch-and-shoot situations, knocking down 40% of his shots, mostly from deep. His size and mobility as a perimeter defender are especially valuable, considering Celtics' small backcourt, 5'9" Isaiah Thomas and 6'2" Avery Bradley. Hayward also makes the Celtics' offense, already among the league's top 5, even harder to defend. The Celtics probably are not better than the Cavs, and it's very unlikely they are ready to challenge the Warriors. But they are gaining ground with plenty of options for the future. Losers, Utah Jazz. They lost their best player and their third-best player, George Hill, on the same day. That's after they traded for Ricky Rubio, who reportedly was part of their pitch to keep Hayward. They get worse on defense, worse on offense, and lose a clutch shot maker who is a locker room leader and an all-star. It's also not just about Hayward. The Jazz did everything right. They rebuilt through the draft, added key pieces and brought in a good coach. Some will point to how they didn't offer Hayward the max in 2014 as a restricted free agent. Forget that. There were questions about how good Hayward was then, and the Jazz took advantage of his RFA rights like many teams do. Few projected Hayward would reach this level. They surrounded Hayward with talent, drafted well, added veterans and managed the cap. They showed him love, and now he's gone. It speaks to free agency and how fleeting success can be. Utah carefully built a playoff team, finally got healthy, and reached the second round last season. And just like that, the Jazz may not be back to square one, but they're at square two. Utah still has Rubio, Rudy Gobert and Rodney Hood. But their chances of making a real run or being relevant in the West are gone. And they'll have to do this all over again in a few years with Gobert. Losers, Miami Heat. Miami was always a long shot. Their roster simply is not good enough. Free agents are not excited about Goran Dragic and Hassan Whiteside as franchise cornerstones. Living in Miami as a Pole, Pat Riley is a legend and Eric Spoelstra is a terrific coach. But missing on Hayward shows they are not a seriously relevant team. They tried to get LaMarcus Aldridge with no luck. They have tried for every major free agent since LeBron James left. No luck. Miami didn't have as much on the line as Hayward's other suitors, but this is still a bummer. The Heat made a lot of noise with a 2-month winning stretch that netted a bad draft pick. After this important offseason stretch, they are no closer to contention or even reaching the playoffs. Loser, Jay Crowder. Poor guy saw this coming. He was mad last season when Boston fans cheered for Hayward. Crowder plays on a discount contract and often draws the toughest defensive assignments. And the Celtics just brought in an upgrade. So one of three things happened to him now. There are no good options. He could lose standing, opportunity or even earning potential. He's loved in Boston, helped the Celtics into the Eastern Conference Finals, and is now an afterthought. Winner, Isaiah Thomas. A lot has gone his way in the past 3 weeks. The Celtics traded the number 1 pick and most likely the barrier between Thomas and a max extension with Boston. They added Hayward, covers for Thomas's defensive weaknesses, and gives it another weapon who can share playmaking and scoring duties. Hayward and Thomas in pick and pop situations will be dynamic and difficult to stop. Hayward as a spot-up shooter will give Thomas more assists. The Hayward move also forces management to pursue this core's potential rather than tooling for a rebuild, and that increases Thomas's odds of staying with Boston and getting his payday. It was a big day for the little guy. Winner, Danny Ainge. You don't have to agree with the decisions, but it's hard to argue the results. He has picks upon picks and a loaded roster with veteran stars and young talent. Ainge has more moves at his disposal and just landed the best available free agent, a player he had sought for a year. Ainge has taken a lot of grief for missing on moves or being too cute with trade offers. But it turns out the only asset he may have needed was Brad Stevens, who brought in Hayward. Despite his misses, Ainge finishes this offseason looking like a genius for making 50-plus win team better. Winner, Gordon Hayward. Hayward's options were all good. But Al Horford will make a great frontcourt partner to dish to and take dribble handoffs from. Thomas is the best point guard partner he's had. He's a real star in a big market now and gets the benefits that come with that, including more than $100 million. It's a good fit, the one he wanted. He had a rough day dealing with the back and forth about his decision, but he still comes out on top. Winner, Northwest Division outside of Utah. That division has gained George and Butler in the past month. It features 2 likely playoff teams and 3 borderline playoff clubs. It's conceivable all 5 make it next season. Hayward's departure from Utah likely makes it a little easier on teams like Portland and Denver, which saw OKC and Minnesota acquire those big stars. The Blazers and Nuggets competition got a little bit weaker, even if the rest of the division remains a nightmare, and Utah still will be tough. Loser, Toronto Raptors. They paid through the nose to keep their core and failed to upgrade. They lost Patrick Patterson on Tuesday night, and the Celtics, who just barely finished ahead of Toronto last season, just added an all-star. Injuries were a major factor why the Raptors didn't win the division last season, and they arguably were as good as the Celtics. Hayward puts Boston as firmly ahead.